As a follow-through, Attorney Sulaika, ilan po ba ang key officials ng OVP? I'm referring to key officials only.
There are 5 key officials, Your Honor.
Can you please mention these 5 key officials?
The Undersecretary,
Can you please include the name,
oh, yes.
assuming this position?
Yes, number 1, the Undersecretary, that is me, Zuleika Lopez. Our Assistant Secretary, Mr. Lemuel Ortonio. Our Director for Admin and Finance Services, that is Director Rosalyn Sanchez. Our Director for Operations, that is Mr. Norman Baloro. And our Director for Strategic Management Office, that is Attorney Sunshine Fajarda, Your Honor.
How important is this Thanksgiving anniversary celebration in Caraga? It's not even at the NCR. It does not even represent a regional representation because he made mention only of 3 specific LGUs. Why? Of all key officials, bakit naman po sa dami ng opisyal ng OVP, ito pang matagal na pong iniimbita ng Good Government Committee na si SDO Gina Acosta at si Assistant Chief of Staff Ortonio ang nakaisip na mag-represent ng OVP sa Thanksgiving celebration?
Your Honor, I cannot answer that because for one thing, I was not the one who issued the travel authority. For another, I cannot presume to understand or know of the wisdom of the person who actually signed it. So, therefore, I cannot really directly answer that question.
To continue,
respectfully.
Attorney, it is not my intention to undermine the significance of those activities in Caraga. But we are thinking individuals here between defending the institution, the office of the OVP, and attending the Thanksgiving celebration in the 3 LGUs in LGU. Hypothetical lang po. Which do you think is more important?
Your Honor, every activity we roll out, whether it's in the NCR or in our satellite
Mr. Chair,
offices.
can we please direct our resources speaker to answer the question? This is a hypothetical question, Attorney Lopez.
Please
If you
answer
will be
responsibly.
made to choose, saan ho ba kayo pupunta? Sa hearing ng Good Government Committee, where you will be given the chance to defend the office pertaining to the issues surrounding it, particularly the utilization of confidential fund, or the Thanksgiving celebration in the 3 small LGUs of the Caraga region?
Your Honor, Mr. Chair, the decision to attend the committee hearing of this honorable committee is a personal one.
I understand, Mr. Chair, but this is a hypothetical question that is being raised to our resource speaker.
I can only answer for myself, Your Honor, and my decision was to attend today's hearing.
Thank you, Attorney Salaika. Now to proceed, Attorney. Tagasan po ba kayo? Where did you originate?
I was born in Davao City, ma'am.
Can you please enlighten us where in Davao at kailan po ba kayo pinanganak? At least the year.
1974, Your Honor.
You were born 1974 in Davao City, and I understand you were appointed as city administrator for a long time of Davao City. May I ask, Attorney, kailan po ba yung first encounter ninyo with our Vice President?
My first encounter with the Vice President was really because of work, Your Honor.
In other words, hindi po kayo childhood friends, hindi po kayo classmates, you are not even friends prior to your appointment as city administrator. Tama po ba ako?
Your Honor, the Vice President was I was an upper class of the Vice President in the College of Law of San Beda, Your Honor.
In other words, you were schoolmates during the law school years. Tama po?
We were schoolmates, but we were not, how do you call that, friends?
Acquainted?
Or acquainted.
So when did you become acquainted with each other?
when I took on the position of Secretary to the Sanggunian, Your Honor.
When was this, Attorney Lopez?
I think 2007, Your Honor.
So this is prior to your appointment as city administrator.
That is correct, Your Honor.
You were first appointed as Sangguniang Bayan Secretary in 2007 before you were appointed as city administrator from 2010 until 2022. Is my data correct? Or my data correct?
There is a gap, Your Honor, because for a time, the Vice President was not the mayor.
Yes.
So just for, I think, 6 years, I was city admin for 6 years.
Let us go to your position as city administrator, Attorney Lopez. Ano po bang functions ng isang city administrator?
Your Honor, the city administrator, in my experience, we actually develop plans and programs on how to effectively and efficiently implement programs and projects that are initiated by the local chief executive. That's one. And then another would be the coordination with all the city department heads. In the case of Davao City being a highly urbanized city, I think we have around almost 40 city department heads, Your Honor. Not to mention, part of my task also is to chair and preside over various committees of the city, such as the Zoning Committee, Tourism Board, Davao City Investment and Promotion Committee, etc. Totaling also more than 30 committees. Apart from that, of course, the city administrator is also tasked with the administrative delivery of administrative support services, particularly in times of disaster operations, notable of which is, for example, there's massive flooding, or in the case of COVID in 2019.
That is an ample function, Attorney Lopez. And in fact, our time allotted for committee hearing might not be enough for you to be able to share with us the so many functions of a municipal or city administrator. Am I correct?
Yes, Your
But I
Honor.
have some specific questions for you. As city administrator, do you recommend to the LCE the appointment of key officials?
Your Honor, in my experience, I never proposed a recommendation for key officials.
But do you believe that as a city administrator, you have the discretion, the power, the opportunity, the position to recommend people who deserves appointment as key official? With the ample function that you have shared to this committee, I believe yes.
Your Honor, perhaps prepare a short list for consideration, but I cannot really make that recommendation because that exercise belongs to the appointing authority. It's the
Yes,
local
but
chief
if the
executive.
appointing authority will be soliciting your position relative to the people who are supposed to be appointed for key positions, would you give your opinion concerning this matter?
Your Honor, in my experience as the city administrator of the Vice President when she was then mayor, she never asked me for any particular person or name that she should consider.
How about in the execution of contract in behalf of the LGU? Do you give your legal opinion, especially considering that you are a lawyer?
Your Honor, in the city government of Davao, there is only one lawyer, and that is the city legal officer. So all contracts that are executed or performed or entered into are reviewed and given legal opinion by the city legal officer, Your
If
Honor.
there are occasions when the opinion of the legal officer is not in consonance with yours, don't you volunteer your opinion being the city administrator and a lawyer at the same time?
Your Honor, I can only confer really with the city legal. But at the end of the day, it is the city legal who will make that final recommendation to the city mayor.
In
Or the local
scheduling the LCE in very important meetings, do you give your opinion as well as to which meeting she should be giving priorities?
Your Honor, from the very beginning, that was very clear to us that we do not really involve ourselves in the appointments or the scheduling of our principal.
How about
Then-
in budget preparation, Attorney Lopez? Don't you give your insights about which item, which program needs bigger budget compared to the others?
In the preparation of the budget for the city government, Your Honor, what is being done is that the city department heads, all 42 of them, I think, more or less, make a presentation as to their priority programs.
Is it not that you are the one at the core, at the center of all these department heads, being the one representing the office of the LCE?
No, Your Honor, I sit in only as city administrator.
As a
There is
matter of
also
fact, as city administrator, you do help reconcile the budget of all the departments of the LGU. Tama po ba?
Your Honor, it really depends on the, for one, the presentation of all the projects and programs of all the city department heads. And then we make that presentation to the local chief executive. And then the local chief executive will decide which programs will be prioritized. We do not have.
Do you mean to tell us that you do not recommend with respect to the programs which needs to be provided with budget?
Your Honor, my role really is that once there is an identification of a particular project, for example, may I be allowed, Your Honor, to give an example? Just a short one, a brief one. For example, our collaboration with the National Museum of the Philippines for the establishment and construction of the National Museum of the Philippines in Davao City. Right? So this was an item that was proposed by some the city department heads. So it was one of those projects that we presented to the local chief executive. And once she says that, yes, we will do this project and the timeline is set for this period, that is the time that I, as a city administrator, come in and start talking to key officials from the National Museum of the Philippines, draw the necessary legal documents that will document.
You wanted to tell us, Attorney Lopez, that the LCE approves first before you have the hand of being part of that program or
Yes,
activity. Is that what you wanted to tell us?
that is correct, Your Honor, because my role really as
In
city
all
admin,
matters concerning the office of the city of the mayor, you wanted to tell us nag-a-approve muna ang mayor bago ka umakto as city administrator?
that is correct, Your Honor, especially in projects such
Attorney, if I may interrupt, that is quite hard to believe because as city administrator, you're supposed to check all the programs, all the concerns, all the decisions, all the matters that will be presented to the LCE before her decision. Is that not the real situation of a city administrator?
Your Honor, I can only speak from my experience working with the local chief executive.
If you are not giving these recommendations to the LCE, then who gives the recommendation?
Your Honor, in that example that I gave, that was an output of the briefing with the several city department heads. That was one of the programs and projects that was listed. These are projects that we prepare and report to the local chief executive for consideration.
Kanina po may binanggit kayong you're heading all the committees. Tama po ba yun?
I preside, Your Honor.
You also made mention about the different departments. What do you do with the different departments?
Coordination, Your Honor.
You coordinate with the different departments and you draft programs and do the implementation as well as the coordination with the rest of the departments of the LGU. Tama po ba yun?
Yes, Your Honor. For example, in the case that I mentioned earlier, ma'am, in that partnership with the National Museum of the Philippines, it has to be approved first that we will embark on that project before we actually proceed any further.
Are you aware that city administrator is oftentimes referred to as Little Mayor? Have you heard of that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. Why do you think the position of, or the person, the city administrator, the municipal administrator, the provincial administrator are being referred to as Little Mayor?
Little Mayor, precisely, ma'am, because you are the go-to person of all city government, city department heads, and then sometimes you traffic the deliverables and the projects that are expected per city department head. In other words, Your Honor, my role really I am not a city engineer. I am not a city veterinarian. But what I do is, if there is an issue on ASF that the local chief executive wants addressed, I coordinate with the city veterinarian who is actually the expert on that program. That is my role, Your Honor. It's purely, how do you say this? Ensuring that they are able to come up with their projects that they have proposed themselves, and it is delivered at a certain timeline as they
You-
have committed to the mayor.
You're correct, Attorney Lopez, that the department heads are the experts on their respective field. But I wish to believe that before the mayors, the LCEs, take an action on whatever they are being presented, she is being presented, it always solicits for the green signal of the city administrator, because you're expected to check the genuineness, the propriety, the veracity of all the concerns, programs, and projects which are being presented by the various department heads. Do you agree with me?
Your Honor, I speak from my experience. That is how it was done when I was city administrator for the local chief executive.
Do you mean to tell us, Attorney Sulaika, that for the longest time, that is 2010 to 2013, and then 2016 to 2022, your
2016.
opinion and recommendation was never solicited by your LCE?
Maybe on matters, Your Honor, such as, for
That
example,
is quite hard to believe, Attorney Sulaika, because otherwise, we will not be able to come up with this little mayor thing, which is being used to refer to the city administrator, if indeed walang kapangyarihan ang mga administrators. As a matter of fact, this representation used to be a municipal administrator.
Your Honor, Mr. Chair, respectfully, I can really just speak from my experience. That is the style that I was accustomed to under the local chief executive.
Kanina po may mga programs kayong nabanggit which you implement. Can you please cite some in brief?
Katulad po nung na-mention ko ng collaboration.
Just the title, Attorney.
The construction, Your Honor, and partnership with the National Museum of the Philippines for the establishment of one such branch in the city of Davao.
What else?
The high priority bus system, Your Honor, that we started during the term of Vice President Inday Sara, but it's still ongoing right now. The Davao-Samal Connector Bridge, which also we started with, but it is still ongoing, as well as the pending, among others, the pending waste to energy projects. One of those that was finished is the underground cabling.
Just give us a rundown. What these programs did you implement during those times? We are talking about 9 long years. You sitting as the city administrator.
Yes, Your Honor, these were projects that were proposed by the city department heads.
So can you please give us a rundown? Ano po ba yung mga programs na yun? 3 pa lang po yung binigay nyo. We're talking about 9 years here.
Another one would be the Davao Bypass Road, which is a partnership with the JICA group.
Parang yung pinabanggit nyo, ma'am, ay mga construction project. Tama po ba?
Meron din pong other activities, Your Honor. Of course, the celebration of all the festivals that happen in a year, which is tatlo, which is the Charter Day celebration, the Kadayawan Festival, the Pasko Fiesta, that one.
Do you mean to say, Attorney Sulaika, that among these programs coming from the various departments, you are partnering with the department head in terms of implementation?
Your Honor, the person responsible for the implementation really is the city department head. For
Sunod ko pong itatanong sa inyo, if you are not recommending, you are not suggesting, and then you will be telling me it is the department head who implements, ano pong ginagawa nyo as city administrator?
Ma'am, I ensure that these projects happen
You
and are
oversee.
delivered on time.
And in overseeing, of course, you
Schedule.
coordinate with the department heads. Tama po ba?
That is correct, Your
And you
Honor.
will agree with me also na lahat po ng programs na ito, we cannot implement them without the necessary budget. Tama po?
Yes, there is a budget for such.
And
It-
considering the length of time that you've been sitting as the city administrator of Davao City, you are well-versed pagdating po sa budget ng LGU. At least you are familiar with the budget of the LGU.
Familiar, yes. Not as familiar as, but as the finance cluster of the local
Because you said
government
you
would be-
coordinate. You coordinate with the different departments. Tapos sabi niyo po kanina, the budget preparation is being submitted by, the proposed budget are submitted by the different departments. So I suppose that in your coordination with the different departments, you are aware also of the budget of the LGU. Am I correct, Attorney?
For big ticket projects, Your Honor, yes, I am aware because they make the presentation, the city department heads.
What is that for?
For projects that like similar to the ones I mentioned early on. Your
Yes,
Honor.
and I suppose that when the project has a very huge allocation, you will be aware as well. I want to be enlightened about the budget of Davao City during your time as city administrator 2010 to 2013, 2016 to 2022. Ito po'y na-flash na natin noon, and I want to share it again to the committee. Kindly flash the confidential budget of the Davao City. This is 2016 to 2022, Attorney Salaika. And apparently, in our previous hearings, we were able to show that among all the LGUs in the entire country, ang Davao City po ang nagkaroon ng pinakamalaki na confidential fund. Being the person who coordinate all the programs with all the focal persons and department heads. Can you please enlighten us? 2016 to 2022. Paano po ba natin na-utilize itong confidential fund na ito?
Your Honor, Mr. Chair,
Please
I may-
continue.
yes, I appear here, Your Honor, pursuant to the subpoena that was issued me in line with the privileged speech of the Honorable Valeriano. It is in my capacity as the Undersecretary of the Office of the Vice President. I am not here, nor am I connected with the city administrator or city government of Davao. So I feel that I am not really competent to discuss budget concerns primarily because, of course, with all due respect to the new city administrator and also the administration of the city government of Davao, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, I wish to remind the resource speaker that the confidential fund which is being shown in the screen pertains to 2016 to 2022. The time when our resource speaker was the city administrator. Earlier, she explained a lot about coordination with the different departments concerning the program implementation. And I wish to believe that this confidential fund is part and parcel of some of the programs which they have implemented already in Davao City. So contrary to her manifestation, Mr. Chair, it is my humble opinion that she is in the best position to enlighten us. Saang programa po ba ginamit itong confidential fund na ito?
Your Honor, Mr. Chair, I mentioned earlier my role as city administrator. It is really to ensure the efficient and effective implementation of projects that are proposed by our city department heads and are approved by the local chief executive. I also mentioned, Your Honor, that part of my task is to coordinate with the city government departments, which are the various in various different areas: city budget, city engineer, city taxation, local city zoning, city planning. These are the operations part of running a local government, Your Honor, Mr. Chair. in my experience and in my term as the city administrator, I have no direct knowledge, no personal information as regards the confidential budget of the city government of Davao.
Mr. Chair, if
It's
the
not-
resource speaker is making a representation that he has no knowledge whatsoever about the program utilization where this confidential fund were spent, then who has knowledge over the utilization to which program of these confidential funds?
Your Honor, I can only speak for myself.
Mr.
On-
Chair,
On my end, Your Honor, respectfully, much as I want to give a definitive answer, I have no personal information as to the utilization, disbursement of the confidential funds.
Mr. Chair, I just find it strange na si Attorney Sulaika po, alam niya yung tungkol sa museum, alam niya yung JICA project, and yet she has no knowledge whatsoever with respect to the huge amount of confidential fund that is from 2016 to 2022. If we can share it again in the screen, ang laking pondo po nito. As a matter of fact, if we will be following the joint circular during that time, this is 30% of the Peace and Order Program of the LGU of Davao. Hindi ko po maintindihan why we've been hearing that Davao City is the most livable place to live, the most peaceful place in the Philippines, and yet mayroon pong ganito kalaking halaga ng confidential fund. So, considering, Mr. Chair, the ample function, authority, discretion of an administrator, anyone who is assuming the position of an administrator, I do not understand why Attorney Zulaika could not enlighten us, at least of what she knows, to which program these confidential funds were utilized. If I may read, Mr. Chair, 2016, this is 144 million. 2017, this is 293 million. 2018 is 420 million. 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022, 460 million. I wish to believe, Mr. Chair, that after the LCE, after the mayor, the next person who is aware about the program implementation, which includes the budget utilization, is the city administrator. As admitted by the resource speaker, she's the one coordinating all the programs. She's the one coordinating with all the departments. How come she has no knowledge at all with these huge amounts of confidential fund which were utilized in Davao City from 2016 to 2022? That is a manifestation, Mr. Chair,